because the lighting's kind of iffy up here, so I'm going to try to take you through some of the stuff up here. Here's the Massacre myths. It says the Union Station Massacre was an infamous event that did in fact occur on the station's front plaza on June 17, 1933. The myths that came to surround the event, however, were manifold and increasingly fictitious, including an all-star gangland cast such as Pretty Boy Floyd and Machine Gun Kelly, erroneously recalled by witnesses. Facts presented in the actual case, which resulted in the single conviction of Frank Jelly Nash, have since been disproved, such as a windshield being blown outward, not inward. The most famous myth remains active today: 3 marks in the granite near the station's east entrance, which many still claim to be bullet holes from that fateful day. Now, the funny part is, Frank Jelly Nash was never convicted of anything because he died in the massacre, but the sign is completely incorrect. And this is just basically, for the most part, what they have on this about it. It talks about the clock, stockyards, and this is about all it talks about. Pendergast says Boss Tom Pendergast symbolizes all that was corrupt about Kansas City politics during the 1930s. One of his close confederates was Conrad Ham, president of the Chamber of Commerce, who legitimized the boss's hold on city jobs and public works. Ham was convicted by a New York judge of violating interstate commerce laws by stealing from charities, even though Pendergast pressured President Roosevelt to pardon Ham before his sentence began. Returning from his trial as a convicted felon, Ham was surprised to find thousands of greeters at the station. While most might call Boss Pendergast corrupt, to Kansas City businessmen, Ham was considered a loyal member of the machine that made the city work. And I think that pretty much covers most of what this is. Now, this is the only other thing they have, and it's actually quite interesting. Where we're standing at right now is probably pretty close to the view that people have when this picture was taken right here. And this is a crime scene taken from the 3rd floor. So we're about at the point where this was actually shot. So it would have been straight up ahead of us where the crime scene actually happened. So if you come over to this window, you can probably see a little better because it's kind of dark up here and it's kind of getting dark outside. And that is the general area where the actual shootout happened. Now, around there's a pillar, which you can kind of see from here. That's on their side of that pillar is where the doors are that where Vetterli actually ran through. What I was showing you guys earlier on live stream to escape the machine gun fire. And that's how they think that those holes got where they are. Now I'm going to go ahead and come back and show you the sign. This is it. This is the reason why we need a full exhibit in Union Station. I think it's important to have a full exhibit here. So I'm going to go ahead and read this to you. It says, Gangsters and G-Men, the most notable single event in Union Station's history, was both famous and infamous. The Union Station Massacre on June 17, 1933. According to official reports, notorious gangster, bank robber, and escaped convict Frank Nash and 4 of his official escorts were gunned down in Union Station's front plaza by 3 unknown machine gun-wielding assailants. 2 federal agents, a Kansas City police detective, and a police chief from a small Oklahoma town had arrived that morning to collect Nash from a 7:15 a.m. inbound train and escort him via motor car back to Leavenworth. The group had made its way in a V formation through the departing crowd of passengers from the train platform, through the station and out to the front of the building when they were attacked. Let's see, 5 men were killed in all. Sorry, I'm having a hard time seeing in here, so I'm having to read through my phone. This one, I don't know if I'll be able to get the light for this. It says, The Growing Saga. It was the era of celebrity gangsters, and public fascination was fueled with fibs, fiction, and fanciful versions of the Union Station Massacre story that grew further with each telling. It was also the Depression era, when bank robbers wiped out banks to help people's savings accounts and often eluded federal law enforcement, which had little power at that time. Witnesses came out to name famous gangsters such as Pretty Boy Floyd and Machine Gun Kelly, and an outraged public demanded action. And this picture is from the 1959 movie, The FBI Story, and it was pretty inaccurate. And then this says, legend has it that the marks in the granite at Union Station's south entrance wall are bullet holes from the Union Station Massacre. Decide for yourself. They can be found just outside the east building entry doors. And this says the investigation, full of holes, despite eluded crime scene, questionable witnesses, and conflicting evidence, future FBI head J. Edgar Hoover launched himself into power in the FBI into being that year with the Nash case as a springboard. A sort of gangster witch hunt was launched, with federal agents rounding up everyone named by eyewitnesses. In the end, however, Adam Richetti was the only man convicted in the case. He went to Missouri's gas chamber. And this says, avoiding the camera, a parade of suspects in the massacre case were questioned and investigated by the FBI, most with known mob connections. And this is this right here shows the people who died. And it's really hard to see. It says Ray Caffrey, federal agent; Bill Grooms, Kansas City detective. And then it's Frank Hermanson, Kansas City detective; Otto Reed, McAllister, Oklahoma police chief; and then of course Frank Jelly Nash. And obviously from this sign you can tell that there's a mistake. And I have told Union Station, I've let them know that there's a mistake on the kiosk that says that Nash was the only one convicted for the massacre. And like I said, he couldn't have been convicted if he was gone. And he was the one that was killed. And it even says on the sign that Nash was killed. So anyways, I kind of find that to be somewhat interesting that they made that mistake. But let's go along and see. Let me show you in here, and then I'll take you back. Well, I have light to show you whatever else. This is just kind of, these are original keys and hardware. And once again, I apologize for the kind of sloppy show here today, but yeah, it's kind of hard to do a whole lot of stuff I want to do. It's loud out there. They're having some kind of an event, and we really can't go to a whole lot of places in Union Station right now because most of it's closed off to us. So there's a 1942 Christmas at Union Station. I mean, overall, I think this is a decent exhibit for what we're dealing with, but I think they could do so much more as far as the massacre. I think that they're missing out on an opportunity. A lot of people want to see it. I mean, I don't think I've talked to anybody, well, maybe a few people who don't want to see it, but I've talked to most people, or most people's opinions that I've talked to, they would like to see the massacre exhibit happen. And we need your support. So when you guys get a little bit of time, I'd appreciate it if you guys would contact Union Station. Send them an email. There's contact information on the exhibit page. And if you get a hold of them, let them know what you'd like to see. Let them know that you feel like this is a very necessary thing for us to have here in Kansas City. These are all waste products, different hazards from the renovation process. And there you get your asbestos, mold and fungus, more asbestos, PCB oils, more asbestos for pipes, pigeon droppings, mercury, lead-based paint, petroleum, and of course my favorite, bat poo. Anyways, this is just kind of, it's a little exhibit that kind of details, and I think this is pretty cool, but I would like to see more, and I'm sure all of you would as well. So if you'd like to see that, as I stated before, let them know. Public opinion is vital in this. We need the support. We have some possibilities, some pretty big things coming up, maybe some events here in the near future. So, like I said, contact Union Station. Get a hold of George Guastello. He is the CEO of Union Station. So make sure you put your emails addressed to him, or there's some other people too. I can tell you later. Like I said, the contacts are already on the webpage. So. This just kind of talks about the war. And this talks about the Liberty Memorial, which is right there. It's beautiful. And by the way, if you guys haven't gone to the museum yet, dude, you're missing out. The World War I Museum is amazing. It is one of the best museums I've ever been to.
Best.
It is awesome. You gotta go. Kids love it. Adults love it. I mean, and it's very, very moving in many ways and very interesting. Lots of cool stuff. Awesome weapons of war. Some other pretty interesting little things. They have some old cars in there, as my son seems to be so excited about. Anyway, so we're standing at this point over the entryway where Vetterli actually ran into. So these are the doors that we came in. And once again, you look out on the plaza out there, and that's where the massacre occurred. We're going to go ahead and head on out. Let me kind of peek at this for a second and see if it works. This just kind of talks about the different stuff, the architecture, Fred Harvey's, the offices, what they were. This talks about the passenger throughway, the East Midway. It says, and I think this is, I believe this is talking about the alternate hallway, and I do believe that the agents initially went through the alternate hallway to get to the train as it arrived to unload Frank Nash, and I know from what they say, they came back through the grand hallway, which is the hallway right over there. But this would be the alternate hallway, I believe, they're talking about. And there's a reason why this makes sense, too. It says, the East Midway was a long corridor that ran alongside the North Waiting Room, 35 feet, and originally built to receive incoming passengers, and led them to the Grand Hall to avoid the opposite flow of departing passengers in the waiting room. The West Midway mirrored this on the other side. Arriving passengers disembarked from the trains on platforms under the building, came up individual gate stairways, so that would be that, and made their way to the baggage retrieval area by walking down the Midway and out through the Grand Hall. The station's architect deliberately designed the midways with low ceilings and modest ornamentation in order to create a sense of arrival and awe as passengers passed in the majestic Grand Hall. This talks about the drugstores. Let's see. Not a whole lot on that, but it's still pretty interesting. Anyways, I think we're pretty much out of things to see up here. There's a couple little other things in here that I wanted to show you, but I mean, they're not necessarily vital right now for what I'm doing, so maybe another time when I have more time and there's less people around, I can get you guys a better thing. So anyways, thanks for coming along. Sorry about the quality and the choppy talking and me losing my voice. And anyways, it's been fun. Take care. Have a good night.